So in the next part of this video, I'll be kind of going over what a logo is with you guys. We'll go over some more details about the project, and then we're going to start getting some of our ideas on paper. So what is a logo? A logo is a graphic representation or symbol of a company name, a trademark, abbreviation, etc., often uniquely designed for ready recognition. So a logo can be simple or complex, but at the end of the day, it needs to be recognizable and kind of tie in with the company. For instance, if you think of the Nike logo, it's very, very simple, but it's recognized worldwide as the Nike logo.
So I wanted to run through a couple pretty famous logo designs with you guys and just kind of talk about what makes them stand out. As you can tell, I know we talked a little bit about the Nike logo. Now the first thing right off the bat that you notice is the bright colors, like within the Target logo, the McDonald's logo, and the Shell logo. They're all pretty simple, but they get the point across and they have bright eye-catching colors. With the Starbucks logo, it's a bit more complex. It's a little more detailed than what you'd normally go for in a logo, but they still keep it simple, they keep it clean, and it's something that's really stood the test of time. And the same can be said with the Apple and the Nike logo. They're both simple, clean, and they've lasted for years with pretty minimal changes.
So we've got all these different examples of logos that are in use today, that have been in use, and I want to kind of talk about what makes a logo strong and what makes a logo weak, because there are different things that can kind of separate it as far as whether or not it works for the company or if it doesn't. So what makes a strong logo? The first thing you need to create a strong logo is to have it eye-catching. You want something that's going to kind of stop people, because there's so many different things people can look at, whether it's they're walking down the street and they're seeing signs or they're online. There's so many different options for their eyes to look toward. The logo also needs to be cleanly designed, which is something that we want to kind of keep in mind throughout this whole logo process. We want to start with obviously some rough sketches, but kind of working up and keeping it simple and clean and professional. Kind of along those same lines, the ideal logo is also able to be simplified if needed. So for instance, some companies have a logo and then text under it, and it's ideal to be able to kind of remove the text portion of it and still have the logo be known as the company. Just for ease, when you're going to simplify it on merchandise, on the website, things like that, you want it to be able to be simplified down. And the last thing that helps make a strong logo is something that's going to last for years. So a lot of times what you see maybe in downtown Seattle or online is a very generic type of logo style. I'll kind of put a little thing above me to show you guys what I mean. But this kind of style is very trendy, it's very hip, it's really in at the moment, but it's not necessarily going to last for years. You know, trends fade out and it might not stand the test of time. So my point there is to try not to follow trends too heavily. And then along some similar lines here, we want to talk about what makes a weak logo, so we can avoid making a weak logo for Glacier Peak Institute. A lot of times when you're looking at logos, you can immediately tell what fonts and styles are really dated. I'll put another example above me. But it's really important that you avoid using overused fonts, overused styles, and things like that, so that it doesn't date it, you know, it still moves with time. The other side to this is you want it to be professional and not have too many colors. So a lot of times, if a logo has more than 4 colors or a bunch of different fonts, it can come off as messy and not very professional. So you want to be sure to keep things simple, like we talked about before. Don't go too crazy with the fonts and the colors. And again, this is something you guys will kind of learn down the line, but I just wanted to go over it with you guys now so you kind of have that in your mind as we're doing the sketches and as we're kind of moving forward with our logo. And the last thing that is kind of a logo pitfall is when it doesn't accurately represent the company. I know a lot of different companies that have logos that don't really tie in with what they do, what they sell, who they are, and that's kind of a shame. You want the logo to stand out and to bring that company recognition. So that's something we're going to really work on when we're creating the Glacier Peak Institute logo. So now we're going to start my favorite part of logo design, and that is kind of talking about what the requirements are and getting ideas down on paper.
Okay guys, so basically we're going to start just kind of writing about our project here. I always like to start by writing the name of the company, just so I kind of keep it in mind. And then we'll start writing kind of what they're looking for in a logo. And some of the keywords that they gave us to start this competition: wild, we want it to be about math, about science, kind of outdoorsy themed. So we just want to keep these keywords in mind while we're starting our sketching process. And then another thing that I like to do is to start kind of thinking about colors. I know they're looking for something earthy, some natural colors, and some muted colors. And I also like to kind of write down some of the elements that I think might be neat to have in the logo. This is kind of where your thought process begins, is just thinking of ways that you can create a logo for them. So I'm thinking maybe I can add some mountains, maybe we'll add a forest. These are all kind of natural elements that I think they might be looking for. Maybe we'll add a compass to get that kind of learning feeling behind it. And then kind of tying back in with forest, just some trees that we could add. And we're just thinking of some ideas of things we could include in the logo. Have something tying into the actual town of Darrington to kind of hone in on the community there. And then we will start the actual sketching process. Now this is totally up to you. I like to just get any weird little tiny ideas I have down on paper. It doesn't have to be anything great. It does not have to look good even. It can be stick people. You just want to get the ideas from your brain onto the paper, usually in as quickly as possible, just so you don't lose your ideas. But if you see here, I'm just kind of jotting down my idea of some mountains inside of a compass, and then having kind of a big blocky text underneath it. You definitely don't have to approach the text side to it right now. That's something that you can work on later, but it's kind of up to you. And I don't know if you guys can see super well, but I'm just doing some little kind of simply drawn trees. I've got some beautiful stick figures here, kind of hiking up the mountain. We're just going with a theme that kind of calls back on people and youth just exploring and learning in the wilderness. And you guys can take as long as you need on this sketching process. For some, it might be really quick. For others, you could do a solid 15 minutes. The point of this is just to get the ideas from your head onto the paper so you have something you can look back on and kind of work with here. And with this one, I was just kind of thinking of doing like a mainly text-based logo with some mountains behind it. It's a little bit cheesy, but again, it's just an idea. We don't have to worry about it too much. These are just our ideas. With this idea, I was thinking along the lines of learning again, just having kind of a book, and I'm not really sure if I love this idea, but it's just something I'm working on, something I'm thinking of. And there we are. These are the ideas that I've come up with real quick here. Again, take as long as you need to do this part of the process. It is very important to just get those ideas down. So in our next video, we'll be working together to build on these logos, build on these rough sketches, and we're going to create a mood board together to get some fresh ideas.